Hello everyone, my name is Notepad and I write games for fun, so what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be working on Zombie Dark 30, a game about tactical horror and let me see if I can do this correctly every time. Tactical action horror role-playing. Oh god, that's a lot. That's a word to say repeatedly. But yeah, welcome back. Now, I've got the document set up, as you can kind of see here. This was a lot harder to do than you think of because, fun fact, this is actually its own little, a literally different image because in Google Docs you can't actually change an individual page color. And I didn't want to make everything black because I want to be able to see. So yeah, I got the preface done, and I got some of the basics, the basic situation report as we kind of went over last time. This is a D12 game. Let me open up my Miro document here. Luckily for me, the commissioner did get back to me very quickly, and I was lucky enough to get, if we zoom in here, he didn't really care about the dice system, that I was okay, and he said the 12v4 system draws no complaints. And lean away from D100. Awesome. We can do this. Action over realism. Awesome. We are okay with that. Zombie, this idea, everything's good. The trees, we'll work on that when we get to it, but right now we just need to kind of power through things. We're gonna do my best with body armor. I actually have a person who offered to help me with that. I would like to thank Rensler, actually. Yeah, Rensler. I would like to give him a big thanks, as he's going to be most definitely assisting probably with with body armor stuff. So that'll be fun if I throw random questions at him at 2 a.m. It's generally speaking, this is going to be the weird one. It's like, oh, well, I'd rather you give an example, bash through the air by huge mutant, have ribs break than 12 HP, or pop immune's glowing eye than knock off 5 HP. Yeah, okay, so he likes the health system. He is mixed on, he's kind of like 50-50 on, he's 50-50 on the metacurrencies, but we can make the metacurrencies not obtrusive, which I'm okay with. I have an idea for this particular thing for the metacurrency, which is most likely going to be, half of me wants to do, here's just a collective, pool of metacurrency that everybody has to look at, and everybody knows there's a limited amount as it just ticks away, because everybody wants to live. Kind of emphasizing kind of more of a selfish use of it. But yeah, here is ZDT. Basic idea. So when an operator is performing an action with a reasonable chance of failure, they will need to make a check rolling a number of d12s equal to their skill, referred to as their action die. For each interval of 4, 8, and 12 rolled, they will score 1 success. Mission control will set the difficulty value of the check, determining overall complexity of overcoming the challenge. So for example, I say, well, you need to make an advanced check. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take, let's say, 4 action die. We roll. I scored 1, 2, 3. I scored 3 successes. Therefore, I just barely succeeded. Hopefully, if my math is correct. This is the big thing with the 12v4. The entire thing that this system is going to hinge on is the fact that, on average, you're going to be rolling a 6. That is the average on pretty much a D12. Averages, percentages get a little bit wiggity wonkety simply because of what it is. However, roughly speaking, you have a higher percentage chance, effectively, of rolling a 7 or under than an 8 or higher. Just basic percentages. Now, luckily speaking, what this means, what this indicates, is that on average, you have a 1 in 12 chance of scoring a 12. However, you have a much higher chance. You pretty much have a 1 in 3 chance of rolling a 4 or higher, which means that you're most likely going to roll a 4. You're at least going to roll 1 4. That means that you're going to score at least 1 success. And the goal is every die should account for maybe 1 success. Every additional success is just a benefit. So if we roll the check again, let's see, I got 2. Nothing. 4. Or you can be me and roll literally fucking nothing. Assuming you're late night schizo posting, it's always late night schizo posting. Assuming your D12s are laid out properly. Yeah. Yeah, like, everything should in theory work. That's the goal. Everything should in theory work. Also, for those interested, for the, like, 3 people interested in font autism with me, we're using the heading of Aldrich, and we're using Open Sans as the body text. It works. It looks pretty nice. It's very simple. And I have this section called the lore section. I don't know if he has, like, dedicated lore he wants. I might literally just write up, like, basic bitch. Like, I can't believe it's not Resident Evil lore, and just, like, here it is, just fuck you, make it, like, a page long, with an explicit note at the end being, like, this is literally just placeholder lore. Like, it doesn't really matter. But yeah. I think this is worded a little bit wonky, like, you know, like, actually I should say small squad. Squad of operators. But yeah, I'm going to be referring to characters as operators. Let's see, if they're equal as well, the player care operators will take priority. Pretty much opposed checks work the exact same. Oh no, I'm rolling 4, you're rolling 4. I rolled 1, 2, actually 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes. You rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes, and then we just check who has the higher skill rating. If we're equal, who's player operator, and when in doubt, and we're both operators, we're both everything, we re-roll the check. We roll. Oh no, I scored a gorillion successes, because I always score successes when I don't need them on examples. On when the same number appears multiple times. Let's see. Forward asked me to turn down my D&D stream, and I didn't tell him it was a custom D12 system. Yeah, I was supposed to use Roll20, which is notorious having shit RNG. Yeah. Yeah, mission control. You're damn right it's called the mission control. Yeah, right here. Yeah, at a mission control to manage the operation. There we go. Pretty much, not exactly the most like exciting version, but now we get to add in. Now we get to add in all the other shit to make this actually kind of work. So we want to do, I guess we could call it I really want to word. Pretty much this is the. Let's see what do we need to add. We need to add in a bonus / penalty system. Pretty much like what happens if you have a penalty, and what happens if you have a bonus, outside of just increasing or decreasing the difficulty. Kind of like I have the right tool for the right job, and we can use this as a different mechanic later on for perks. Or perks and things like that, because that might be very handy. I guess we can call them, I guess we can call it I guess advantage and disadvantage are like the simple ones. However, we can probably like, what would be another one? If I wanted to feel really pretentious, I would go with initiative versus delay. You know, just kind of the idea of like you're operating operationally to operationally operate. We can probably go with what's a tactical. We need some tactical slang. Give me some fun tactical slang here to work with. Actually, I know what we can call it. So we have momentum and hindrances. Momentum and hindrances when an operator is confronting a situation in which they have let's see, when an operator is confronting a situation in which there is a noticeable advantage or disadvantage. Advantage. They either have momentum or a hindrance. When an operator is operators using the right equipment, being in ideal locations, or possessing the right abilities will seize the momentum. We'll seize the momentum. When this occurs, they will. Let's see. Do we want to just do like? How do we want to do this? Do we just add another D12 to the mix? Actually, no. What? Let's see. Because if we do the idea being like you add a D12 to the mix, that means the hindrance would be you remove a D12. However, what happens if you have 0 D12s? You just roll and take the lowest? That could technically work. Oh. Or we manipulate the numbers. Actually, so let's think. We're going to take our dice. We're rolling our dice. We have advantage. What do? We got a 9 and 8. We've got 2 9s and 11. I guess what we could do is like, oh, you have a problem, you invalidate something. So it's like, oh, you have a disadvantage. I'm invalidating a die. Like I'm invalidating like successes from you. I guess that works. So if you only have 1 die in an example, if you invalidate it, it's the idea being like you just didn't even succeed on it. Or do we just add, or do we like, maximize? That could be another one. I guess that could work. Like if you have an advantage, you get to promote a die up to pretty much whatever the next interval would be. So instead of 1 success, it's not 2 successes. That could work. We just add a option. I thought never thought of the day nobody would ever make a Resident Evil TTRPG. Neither did I, but I got paid for it. So actually what I should do, give me 1 second. No, if I hit the wrong button. Don't want that. What I should do, because this is technically, it's been a while since we've done one of these streams, so I kind of forgot about it. We do the notepad coin service. We do that. There we go. Resetto pro laboro quid pro quo. Work for wealth. You know, it's actually wealth through labor. This for that. There we go. There's the notepad coin to service. Can actually extend this out a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. Let's see. When this occurs, they will add. Let's see, they will. How do I want to word this? Because you need to create it with a success-based system. Actually, well, let's do. Confuse and manipulate you. So you just add another roll, but you don't get any advantages. So dice pool, so it would be like Shadowrun advantage. Equality. So it's like if you get. Okay, you know that could work. Actually, they will add another D12 and take the. They will add another action die. They will add another action die to their pool. They'll add another action die to their roll. Discarding the lowest. So, for example, let's say I have 3 action die. I have advantage. I roll the dice. I discard the lowest. I have a 5 here. However, I have 2 9s and 8s. So I scored 6 successes. I'm awesome. So that would be disadvantage. Would be we add another die and then we take away the highest. So instead of this 12, I would only take 11, 7, and 8. So when this occurs, I add another action die to the roll, discarding the lowest. Operators acting at operators in poor conditions. Actually, let's see. Poor conditions, no equipment, or be severely injured may have a hindrance. Actually, no. Fuck this. No, because we're gonna tie this to. We can tie this to the damage. So when an operator has the momentum, they add +1 success to any of their checks. Add +1 success to the check. This stacks up to 3 times. Operators without proper equipment. In poor conditions, or being heavily injured, will have a hindrance. When an operator is acting with a hindrance, they remove 1 success from the check. This stacks up to 3. This stacks up to 3 times. Both momentum and hindrances counteract one another. So having the correct equipment, +1 momentum, but being in poor conditions, negative +1. Actually, negative. We do actually +1 hindrance. Would have 0 bonus successes, 0 bonus or 0 bonus successes applied. 0 bonus successes applied, but no penalties as well. There we go. Commas, but it's all technically correct. There we are, nice and simple, because we need something there to quickly understand that hindrance. Hi, Notepad. What happened in Discord? Anarchy, most likely. Anarchy. I think people were arguing mostly about Vosh. I hate Vosh, by the way. I think Vosh is a goblin. And then you also have the Keffels situation going on. Someone posted the Keffels situation. That is just like, it's like, oh, my brother in Christ. Like, please shut the fuck up. Like, Okay, we're going to talk about something real fast. Let's talk about a little bit of PR 101, everybody. PR 101, when someone accuses you of something that is clearly right, and you are in the clear wrong for it, i.e. having Catboy Ranch with a 16-year-old boy in it, with things such as the lewd channel, which is clearly labeled that he is 16 and a minor. The thing that you do not do is say Catboy Ranch lives. That is the exact wrong thing you say. That is the polar opposite of what you say. That is like the absolute last thing you should ever think about saying. Because it looks bad on you, and it looks bad on everybody else. And people are going to use it as ammunition. So don't do it. As for Vosh, Vosh is just some weird leftist on fucking YouTube who does not shut up. And has some very odd comments about children, and he has some very odd comments about horses. Generally speaking, anytime you hear that name, anytime, even if you are a leftist, I don't care, even if you are a fucking alt-right or whatever the fuck, anytime you hear Vosh, you should not consider anything he says correct. Morally, or politically, or anything like that. He's a weird pedo. He has said comments before that has indicated that he is a weird sex pest. And you should not do it. And if he wants to get mad at me about that, cool, dude. You're just confirming it to me. You're a weird sex pest. And other fun, exciting adventures. Now, let's see. So, what else do we need? What else do we need? What else do we need? Actually, we want to do competency and competency and understanding. There we go. Competency and understanding. Operators are chosen for their extensive skill and knowledge, whether they are ex-military or in the ex-military, medical fields, engineering fields, or any other kind of special operations. When an operator is confronted by a situation, operators are assumed to have, go to basic competency in most situations. Even in basic competency in most situations, when operators do not need to make a check to turn on computers or hit a target. Instead, they need to make checks to hack into computer systems, to actually override computer systems, override firewalls, and score a headshot. Let's see, score a headshot on a target 15 meters out with a broken leg. 15 meters out with a broken arm. When determining checks, keep keep this in mind. When determining checks. Keep this in mind. Operators are a cut above the regular individual. I want to put this in here. Yeah, actually, when determining check. Keep this in mind. Operators cut above the regular individual. Above the let's see. Operators cut above the regular individual. There we go. Pretty much like this little thing right here is dedicated to a very like particular idea I want with this game, is being like the characters are above you are above normal. Like you are a very competent individual. Like you are a person who damn well knows what's going on and damn well can do it pretty good, like pretty consistently. And it's one of those things. Like with the just basic competency and understanding, what I want this to be is you're not making checks for just everything you feel like. You are making checks for things that are important, things that are dedicated, and like we want to do this correctly. However, what I should do, actually we put this right here. We do competency and understanding. What we need to do is degrees. The degrees of success. Degrees of success don't need to be very long. These aren't going to be like strictly super mechanical, but I just want to put it in here, which is the idea of each when making a check. When making a check, hitting the required DV. Hitting the required DV is doing the bare minimum, or is a success, but scoring higher than the DV will result in degrees of success. The more success is rolled, the better the result is in general. For example, Agent Ymir. Ymir is running from a pack of biters. What do we want? Do we want to give zombies a unique name? That's the question. Do we want to give actually is running from a hunter? Let's see. Ymir is running from a hunter who is on his trail. His trail. He is forced to make a DV2 check. To outrun the beast. He succeeds by rolling four successes. The mission control dictates. The more successes rolled, the better results in general. Allow the operator to dictate. Let's see. Allow the operator to dictate some. Allowed to dictate the result. Dictate their advantages. The operator to dictate their advantages in such a situation, as long as it makes consistent sense. Ymir is running from a hunter who's on his trail. He's forced to make a DV2 check to outrun the beast. He succeeds by rolling 4 successes. Ymir asks, Ymir has not only outruns the creature, but manages to hide away from its prying eyes. He's safe for now. Similar to degrees of success. Similar degrees of success are degrees of failure. Degrees of failure. If a check is particularly disastrous, a operator may suffer the consequences of their actions. These are entirely told by mission control. For example, later Ymir is hiking through the city in an effort to reconnect with his squad. Finding a handful of survivors, he attempts to make friendly conversation with them. He requires a DV3 to succeed. DV3 to succeed. He attempts to sneak past them to avoid a confrontation. He needs a DV3 to pass. He makes a DV3 check. Failing by rolling zero successes. Not only do the survivors don't spot him, but they are convinced that something is crawling over there, and begin to light up the area with firearms. Ymir isn't. Oh yeah. So the idea behind it's pretty much your standard degrees of success, degrees of failure. Nothing too exciting there. It's most along the idea of being like, hey, if you do well, you're gonna get something out of it. If you do poorly, you're gonna get swacked a little bit. And we want to have the competency and understanding, which leads us to our last bit, which we're going to call. Actually, let's see. How about doing everything saying the word zombie in zombie movies is so fucking annoying and stupid. Zombies are Zeds. See, I don't think they call them zombies in Resident Evil anymore. Resident Evil zombie. Because yeah, do they actually refer to them as zombies? No, they're C-virus zombies. So okay, so yeah, they are still referred to as zombies, which I find hilarious. Is that like zombies are like the least important thing in the fucking art world at this point when it comes to come on Notepad, you can speak in the Resident Evil verse. Zombies, they exist. Oops. Yeah, whoopsie doopsie. Whoopsie doopsie. Yeah, zombies aren't okay. So yeah, we can just call them zombies. I might ask and be like, what do you want these to be called? The more I skim over Discord, the more I cringe. We're all cringe. This should be known. So we're going to call this, okay, I know we, like, half of me, like, there's two options for, like, because I'm going to put in a meta currency here. I usually don't like meta currencies. However, I feel it's appropriate for this one just to kind of represent, like, the fighting fucking will of things. And my two options are this. Either we do, like, a group meta currency. So it's more along the idea of, like, you have this currency in the middle of the table. It's right there. Anyone can take it at any time, but you're kind of taking away from the collective. That's being kind of the idea, being like, here's this like group of problems that we have and we're slowly picking away at it until it's just, you know, gone. Or we use a more of a personal one, like you have a smaller supply of the personal stuff, but it's more like you can use it to get out of a hairy situation, or, you know, trigger it to get some more dice and stuff like that. I think the easiest way of doing it would be if we're doing the group, I think you can even call it something like hope, which would literally be, you know, it's, you know, the group's desire to, you know, the group's desire to live. And it's kind of like, actually, no, what, you know, we could call it cohesion. You know, just like, this is your squad keeping their shit together more than anything. It's just like, and you drawing from your cohesion is that you're slowly breaking apart, slowly being more like, well, this is about survival more than anything. While the more personal one would be like adrenaline, which would be more personal. Adrenaline probably works better, but again, everyone has to manage their own pool, which can be a little bit annoying. Let's see, which ones does he like? 40k RPG, Soulbounds, Metal, and Soulfire. Let me remember what Soulbounds is. We want to do fantasy. Soulfire and Dew. Let's see. The party should leave Soulfire and Doom, which represent resources used during play. Soulfire represents the bond between who are those who are soulbound and allows them to perform critical by drawing on each other. Doom represents growing dread in the world, realms are overrun by chaos, death, and destruction. Let's see. So utilize Soulfire in 6 rules. Where is Soulfire? Where the hell is Soulfire? There we go. 132. New characters woven into the mind of maximum Soulfire increases. I don't recover Soulfire's powerful force, but not unlimited. Speed Soulbound can be stretched thin before they must recover. What do you do with some of the? What do you remind me what Soulfire does? Maximize success. And so when Sigmar returned to his army, the Stormcast Eternal pushed back to chaos. Hopefully, rekindled hearts of mortals. Blah blah blah. Achieve maximum success, reroll dice, recover all your toughness, recover all your spent metal, cheat death using Soulfire. Okay. And then we do metal. We want to track metal. Because Soulbound has fucking two meta currencies. It's great. Currency, but every one of the players. Probably what I'll say for that particular one is just the fact that since it's disappearing, things are going worse. I actually did an entire thing on Soulbound, actually. Like, the entire idea being, like, at, let's say, maximum squad cohesion at 5, for example. Every time someone's using it, you know, cohesion's dropping, things are getting worse. So it's kind of like the idea of being, like, the fact that it's not there. Thought about making a little opinion on Soulbound. I've actually debated on doing a little opinion on Soulbound. It's never been formally in a case, so it gets a little bit funky. And like my opinion on Soulbound being like, this is a really cool system. Shame I don't give a shit. I do not give a fuck about Age of Sigmar. Like, I don't really care for Age of Sigmar. It's not necessarily like, oh, it's, you know, fantasy marine, Sigmarines, ha ha ha. No, not necessarily that. Mostly it's like, I just don't vibe with the setting as much. It feels weird to me. I can't put my finger on why I don't like I don't like Age of Sigmar very much. I just know I don't. Soulbound is Cubicle 7's. I just had it fucking open. I'll open it. This was the Age of Sigmar role-playing game. It was Cubicle 7, right? I'm not going insane. Yes, it was Cubicle 7. This was the official Age of Sigmar game, which eventually which came from Wrath and Glory, and in turn Cubicle 7's version of Wrath and Glory. Then you have Soulbound. Then you had the 40k version. Like, they kind of did their own thing with it. Like, I think the system works. I think it's a little bit janky. But like the one thing that I'm not a big fan of with this particular one is, like, everything really gets broken down into, here, I can bring up the fucking Stormcasts. This is what happens to a lot of them. Like, this is what everything kind of gets broken down into. These little archetypes, which I'm not a huge fan of, and everything kind of looks wonky. I think Stormcasts are dumb. Like, I think Stormcasts are dumb for a variety of reasons. Like, everything got, like, way more, how do I want to word this? Everything got way more high fantasy. Like, way higher fantasy than I think I was, like, because I like Warhammer because it felt like a really weird setting because of how normal it felt. Can it be used outside of the Age of Sigmar? Not without significant changes. That's one of the issues. Well, I think one of the big things that I liked most about the old world, like, the one thing I liked about the old world was that it wasn't necessarily low fantasy, but it wasn't necessarily high fantasy either. It had a nice middle ground to it. And because you had, like, yeah, everyone, we want to play a bunch of mercenaries. Okay, who's in your squad? Well, I have this elf, I have this ogre, I have this dwarf, and I'm playing a human. Okay, what's your gimmick? I have a fucking huge sword, the ogre has a bigger sword, the dwarf has just a gun, and the elf has a bow. We kill people for money. It's like, awesome. And, like, there was a lot to the old world. I think a lot to the old world that, you know, never really got explored too much, and for various reasons. Like, I think the problem with the old world is that, well, one, it just wasn't selling models. They just were not able to sell the models, and honestly, that's like the big thing that matters. Because apparently in the model department, Age of Sigmar is doing pretty alright. Like, people buy Age of Sigmar stuff, mostly because it does accommodate lower point values a lot easier. Like, that was like one of the problems with the old world and Warhammer Fantasy in general, was that it was so focused on regimental play that it wasn't it wasn't like a dozen guys you needed to paint and put together and do all that. No, it was like 60. Like, it was like you needed quite a few different guys to kind of get those bigger regiments going and actually kind of make it work. Now, then you had things like Mordheim, which Mordheim was kind of that skirmish size, but it was never really supported because it wasn't super important to people to be supported. So it was kind of this constant, like, weird flux state, and people would be like, well, Warhammer Total War did so good, and then we have, like, oh, Mordheim was such a good game. Like, I don't think people quite understand, like, we got those games because Warhammer Fantasy died. Because Games Workshop put a fucking gun to the back of its head and pulled the trigger is the reason we got those games. It's not because of, like, Games Workshop just hated fantasy and wanted it to die, and no, it was because this thing is not selling models. We are a model company. If it's not selling models, we cannot do that. And we're going to, like, just sell the IP off and let anyone kind of do anything with it, because there's a lot of shit Warhammer games. Like, of the, like, number of games we actually see, there's a lot of garbage. How do you feel about Beastmen? Depends on the context. Warhammer Beastmen? I love Warhammer Beastmen. I think they're a little bit wonky, and they're very underappreciated, but I think they're a cool faction. I think they're a neat faction as kind of like a middle ground in like an RPG sense. They're really good for that. Like on the table, they were always terrible because they were just that kind of bad, but they serve an interesting position. Standard fantasy beastmen depends on what they are, kind of thing. Like minotaurs are cool, I guess. Usually I don't use beastmen in mine, and if I do, they're like very focused on a particular thing. I hear that, like, there was one, I ran a setting called Enuria. The entire idea of Enuria is that the dwarves pretty much manufactured a personal, like, not necessarily a slave race, but like they uplifted their own race of dog people. And I can't even remember what they were called. And that was like one of the big things, was that they are these, like, they're these beastmen who everyone kind of treats as beastmen, but they're like, yeah, you're just kind of budget dwarves. Too bad the furry ruined that idea. Furries didn't ruin beastmen. They really didn't. Furries do their own thing. Furries don't usually like beastmen, weirdly enough. That's one thing I've always noticed. Let's see. Cohesion and desperation. Okay, squad's cohesion. Actually, squad's cohesion is squad cohesion is a combination of trust, grit, determination, and reliance on one another. I used to like the concepts of after the bomb and Ironclaw, then the furries attacked. After the bomb is fine. Like, here's the thing: furries can only make things furries make things bad the second sex is brought up. Fun fact. That's the only time things get bad with it. And you can always fucking tell. Every single time, they're gonna bring it up. Every time. Like, Ironclaw's a cool fucking setting. I actually really like Ironclaw. Because you don't bring it up. If you don't bring it up, it's fine. Yeah, after bomb was Palladium, actually. And after the bomb was Palladium, and it was technically their sequel to their TMNT game. Because I think they lost the license of TMNT. But they still had it, so they just wanted to, make it. Combination, trust, grit, determination, reliance on one another. Reliance on one another, then reliance on one another. Sheer unholy rage toward the enemy. Oh, throughout the mission. Yeah, curious case of that one. Yeah, Hicks and Draconis. It's been on my list to do for a while now. I'm hesitant to do it because it's such a fucking massive book, and it's such a weird system that making that video, it's going to probably be like 8 minutes long. It is probably going to be an 8-minute long video simply because of like, you got to go over the system, and then you got to go over like the setting a bit. Then you have to go over like how the system works and kind of like the context behind everything. Like, Excentricotus is weird. Like, I don't think people quite. I want to reinforce this heavily. That's a weird game. Let's see. Throughout the mission, the operators may draw upon their squad's cohesion to actually no. See, at the start of an operation, the squad has six cohesion. Six cohesion, which I'm actually going to add a footnote. For ease of reference. Put six tokens, or have a universal note with the number of remaining cohesion. Actually, with the amount of cohesion in easily accessible location. Let's see. Start of operation, 6 cohesion. This cohesion, this can be spent. This can be drawn upon to allow the operators to push themselves beyond their limits. Trigger perks. Trigger perks. Save. Let's see. We want to do. I know we could do aggravate mutations. Aggravate mutations, or even save themselves from an untimely death. At any time during the operation, a operator may declare anytime during an operation, before a check, at any time during an operation, before or after a check is rolled. Let's see, before or after a check is rolled. An operator may draw upon the squad's cohesion. To perform one of the following. Which it's going to be add +1 d12 to any check. Add +1 success to any check. We're going to do mitigate a hindrance. Actually, mitigate hindrances. So we're adding a +1 d12 to any check. That means that what you're doing there is you're giving yourself a chance to roll up to 3 additional successes. Adding +1 success is just flat +1. I failed. I'm going to spend 1 to get 1. Mitigating hindrances, you don't really want to do that except if it's like 2 or 3 hindrances. Then you're just, you're already at like a critical problem, being like, I have -3 fucking successes. Spend a cohesion. You don't have that anymore. Actually, let me see. Ignore wound penalty. Ignore wound penalties for an action. Ignore a piece. Ignore 1 damage to any location. Let's see, ignore 1 damage any. may perform one of the following. When an operator would take fatal damage, they may instead spend two cohesion to miraculously survive the situation. To miraculously survive the situation, grazed bullet knocked. Miraculously survive the situation. So it's kind of the idea being like you're spending more and you don't have a lot of this resource because everyone's sharing it. Even like taking fatal damage means you're taking 2 away, and that's really bad. When the operator would take 2 fatal damage. So what we can do is increase damage by +1. Choose damage location. There we go. Choose damage location on a target. Choose damage location on self. There we go. So you can be like, okay, instead of taking a shot that would go to my arm, I'm going to take a shot that's going to go to my chest. Or instead of taking one to my leg, I'm going to take one to my, my arm or something. Kind of like that. Mitigating hindrances, that's really only valuable at that. Nor 1 point of damage at any location, which is like, I'm going to take 5 damage. I need to mitigate just a little bit of damage to that. That's not really super valuable, but can be valuable. Increased damage by +1. Useful against bigger enemies, not really by anyone else. Choose damage location of a target, which is, I'm shooting, instead of randomly determining it, instead of saying like, okay, I'm going to trust the dice to do this, it's saying, we're spending a cohesion, I'm shooting that guy in the head, or I'm spending cohesion, I'm shooting the big scary monster in the eye. We are shooting it in a bad man place. Actually, the squad recovers 1 cohesion. Let's see, the squad recovers 1 cohesion when they complete a major objective. Recovers 1 cohesion when they complete a major objective. Have a squad mate die. Or how do I want to? Actually, squad recovers 1 cohesion when they. Let's see. Recovers 1 cohesion when they succeed or fail at a major objective. Succeed or fail at a major objective. And when a squad mate dies. Okay. It's going to have a groin kick mechanic. I mean, that wouldn't be too hard to do, actually. Actually, we want to do cohesion. Oh god, don't do that. Nope. Oh god. Cohesion, and then we do this real fast. Desperation. As the squad's cohesion falls. Desperation sets in. There's nothing to track with desperation. Mission control has exclusive rights to express this desperation, to express this new complication, complication in complication in the mission, in the operation, I should say. Desperation has things get worse. The less cohesion a squad possesses, the more horror it begins to seep in, forcing the squad to work together more desperately, work together less in a altruistic sense, and more about avoiding a violent death at the hands of the enemy. When cohesion reaches zero, true desperation has arrived. The squad is broken. They are now in a horror situation. They are now in a horror situation where they are now in a horror situation, even if they have the necessary equipment. At this point, until cohesion is restored, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Forcing the squad to either come together, or die alone. So that's kind of the idea behind desperation. Cohesion is like, we're working together. We can do this together, guys. We're gonna survive. It's not even like we're gonna survive. It's more along the lines of, we're going to make it through this because this is fine. But the more you start, drawing from that cohesion, because you're gonna want to. That's one of the big things about this. You want to draw from cohesion. The more things are gonna start kind of going wrong. The horror begins to seep in. It's kind of like, if cohesion is high, you're playing an action game. When cohesion is low, that's when the action horror aspect. Part of it. It's not of every operation, I should say it. Of every operation, the squad has 6 cohesion. 6 cohesion. Yeah, zombies ain't the only threat. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things being like, I might add, usually when it comes to my how I do limb-based combat, it's more like use head. Usually I use its head, body, obviously our arms, our legs. And if I'm feeling desperate, sometimes I add this section as upper torso, lower torso, and more gut. And then maybe I wouldn't say crotch necessarily, but hips. I don't know if I want to do that in this particular game. Both have kind of valid. I might just bifect it like this. Here's your torso, here's your gut. Both of those are bad. Don't get shot in your face. Anything in this area is usually the no-no zone, which you don't really want to get shot in. However, that's usually also your most heavily defended sections, because you pull out the Jenga tower, escape switches to dread. Yeah, pretty much. It's... what I want to kind of emphasize is, when your cohesion falls to 0, that's when this becomes a horror game. And it usually happens at every point in in a Resident Evil game, where it's yeah, cool, I have the gun, yeah, I'm doing it, being I'm still fucked. I'm gonna die. I am at the lowest point possible. I am being pursued, I'm injured, things that can go wrong have gone wrong at this point. I'm gonna do body damage like Boots in Mud. Not strictly like Boots in Mud. It's going to be more along the lines of its own kind of system, with wounds assigned to each location. In Boots in Mud, how HP worked was kind of simple. It was like each limb had various healths. Effectively, I believe it was like your chest had like 25. And if your chest is ever destroyed, if your head, chest, or gut is ever destroyed, you're dead. Because, turns out getting, lit up with a bunch of bullets in your chest was not, conducive to a long life. If your head gets blown off, obviously you die. If you lose 2 limbs, pretty much if they go into the crippled state, you're going to die because you're just mangled. Like, it's hard to die in that game simply because of how damage distribution works, but if you do get a few bad hits, it's Jover. It's, as they say in the hood, Jover. The rest of the squad to work together, less of an altruistic sense, so we've got all of this. I believe that's actually everything we need. Everything we need in this current section, anyway. So we've got how rolling the dice work, we've got how degrees of success, we've got the momentum and hindrances, we've got competency and understanding, we understand cohesion, and we get desperation. We slap in image. Oh jeez. Yeah, so we slap an image like right here. We slap an image like right here. This should work pretty well. So image right there to kind of break up the... We break up the signs. We should be good. So, we've got the basics. Next, what we're going to do... So what do we actually... Let's break down. Let's plan ahead. Let's plan ahead, everybody, because planning is important. Planning wins life. I've learned that much. So first things first, we're going to have to do operator creation, because I always like doing these first. Operator creation. What do we need there? We need to explain skills. We need to explain character. Actually, we need to explain attributes. We already have our attributes. That's going to be pretty simple to do. We're going to have to explain our skills, which is going to be pretty simple to do. We're going to have to go over our combat capability. This is going to be its own important little thing right here, which is our combat capability. Which is pretty much like, it's going to be kind of like our combat skill, but it's more along our lines of like our ability to just do things and how good we are at doing those things. A random encounter on table wouldn't be too remiss. Yeah, the commissioner actually did request super zombies and things like that, so we're going to be adding a few of those. Most likely, I'm going to draw pretty heavily from Resident Evil in that regard. One thing I do plan on doing is that there's probably going to be what I'm going to have like a few, like, here's some sample zombies, but I'm probably going to do create a mangle. Which is just going to be the idea of here's a standard mutation gone wrong, and it's they have 3 weak spots, and those weak spots are in these locations. If you manage to shoot these weak spots, they're going to be able to do, this is this. However, they have 2 powers, and they allow them to spit acid, and they have an arm blade. Like, yeah, okay, fuck you. It's like, oh, awesome. Like, this is Pog. This is great. I'm having a ball. Hmm. Probably 4 and 5 are going to be kind of like the one thing is like 4 and 5 are probably going to be the ones I draw for most heavily because both of those are more action games than strictly horror games. Luckily, though, I can draw from other sources pretty actively. And there's only so many, like here's the thing. There's only so many ways you can make super zombies in that regard. And I have, like, quite a few different, like, angles, you could say, to go through. So I'm okay with that. So we need attribute skills, combat capability. Then we want to have, it wouldn't be operate, we want to have, do we explain the health system here? Yeah, we're going to explain, we're going to call it the vital, vitals and the vital system. We're going to explain that right here. So this should do everything, and then we do specialize, then we do special, we'll call it the initial specialization. Then we go into, how do I want to word this? Yeah, part of the war on terror zeitgeist. So what we can probably do is then immediately go into like combat operation. We can do, actually no, we can do mission operations. Yeah, we do mission. We go into mission operations, which is going to be kind of like non-combat stuff. Then we immediately go into combat operations, which is strictly combat stuff. Which is, then we go into equipment autism. Then let's see, then we do advancement and specializations, and then we do enemy variety. Enemies of the state. And then we have a set of optional rules, which I'm just going to call the ASPs. No, that's not. BSP, the Bio Soldier program, which is kind of like character mutations. They like, you want to play a super soldier kind of thing. This allows you to do that. Realms of Chaos means copy pasting mutation tables. Like, the idea behind the mutation tables, like here, is more along the lines of like, you can kind of call these like advanced specializations, which I'm ironically going to be more basing these off of, for those who remember, what were it was the one guy from Darkest Dungeon. I loved Abominate, which is going to be more like Abomination from Darkest Dungeon. But for those who never played Darkest Dungeon, the Abomination was a character class. It was actually added in the Kickstarter, but the Abomination actually had a very unique gimmick. That their entire gimmick was that they could transform into their effectively werewolf form. As a werewolf, they were incredibly powerful. They hit like a fucking freight train, and they were incredibly scary. However, every time you did it, everybody else got spooked, because they don't like watching anybody like transform mid one, be like, you're just as bad as whatever the hell we're fighting. That's kind of the idea of what I want to do with the Biosoldier program, which is if you're a Biosoldier, you're going to deploy and you're going to have to spend cohesion to activate some of your bigger powers. And you kind of like trigger your Biosoldier mutations, which is kind of like a, yeah, you're a lot stronger, you're a lot better, but people are kind of losing their shit a little bit more, which we can kind of give like an optional feat for people to be like, hey, you optionally went down this right. You can optionally kind of take a level instead of picking up something, you know, overtly more useful. You can say, hey, I want to synergize with my Biosoldier companion a little bit more. I'm not really phased by it anymore. I'm okay with it. And if everybody takes that, nobody loses cohesion anymore. It's one of those things being like, if you have 2 Biosoldiers and 2 guys, Biosoldiers don't care, they're Biosoldiers. However, if you do care, it's like kind of a back and forth. That's kind of the idea with it. It's a plus and it's a big minus. Their big thing is that they're going to have to play with the infection rules quite a bit. Yeah, these guys are mostly about the infection rules because their infection threshold is going to be a lot smaller than everyone else's. And like Zombrex doesn't work on them. Zombrex hurts them. Oh, actually, which reminds me, we can do, the infection system can come in. Actually, we know we'll have to put in like the, very bog standard investigation. Like an investigation system, very standard stuff, nothing too super advanced there, but doesn't really need to be super advanced. We can do more along the lines of counterterrorism practices. And I'm putting that in quotes, more along the idea as being like, kind of depending on what you're going to play in like the lore section up here. He never really specified anything with lore. I might put in like two separate factions kind of doing things. You have the Lazarus company, whose entire thing is like, we want to contain the zombies because there are fucking problems. Or you're more wet work, and then you have like an actual like UN funded, special operations group who don't have, and like you're going in there completely blind. It's kind of like, how are you doing things differently? Like one side really wants you to kind of smash and grab, the other doesn't. So this one's going to be a lot more just like heavy writing, not like a super lot of like rules. Combat operations is going to be pretty heavy on that. Equipment autism, this is going to be an entire day, mind you. This is just going to be a day. So looking at this, we're going to power through this on Friday. That's our goal. Is we're going to just hammer through operator creation on Friday. And then we can probably do this on next Monday for episode 3. Combat operations, we could probably do like Monday, Wednesday. Depending on how far along we are in combat operations, we can maybe move on to Wednesday there. And then we kind of end off on Friday for there and there. So generally speaking, I'm looking at about, let's see, this is episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, looking at 5, maybe 6 episodes of this, which I'm pretty all right with. I'm pretty all right with how this is shaping up. I'll have to ask him. He said he watches the videos. He watches these, so maybe if he's watching, hey man, if you're watching, do you want some specific lore? Global war on terror, yeah. You need 5 factions all working together. Yeah, I mean, I might do something like that. It kind of depends, because really, in like most of these things, like there's clearly like good guy faction. Then we have bad guy faction, and then we have like neutral people faction, and like good guy faction Yeah, like good guy faction is like the BSAA. Bad guy faction is your umbrellas. Neutral people are usually like, we're the innocent civilians, we're the militia group or whatever. That's like not necessarily like militia, like yeah, they're shooting at you, but they're doing it because they don't know the grander scheme of things. Look, everyone, it's the fancy man. It's the man paying me money. Everyone clap. Hello. Faction generator. I don't think a faction generator is like super there. I might have like a sample city or two. Fallout 4 Alex. God, I don't hate myself that much. Yeah, pretty much. I think like having like a sample city. I might just use New Swansea. I've used it enough. Yeah, I might I might slap in some like this bullshit lore. That might be the best solution for this particular situation. But again, I think the main thing is this. I think like this is going to be the hurdle. I can tell you all that much right now. This is going to be the hurdle. Friday is going to tell me how easy or how complicated that's going to be. I am like 99% sure everything should work correctly. I am 99% sure. But 99% sure is also 1% not sure. So bear with me there. Yeah, combat equipment. I'm calling it equipment autism because that's really what it's going to boil down to. It's just going to be me sitting there and being like, time to look at guns and armor. Again, as I said before, I have an armor guy who does body armor stuff, and he was former Marine man. So hopefully, I can throw my problems at him and he will save me. Former Marine man will save me. Specializations might take a little bit of time, but specializations are going to be... They're going to be hard if I really, want to get into the nitty-gritty of things, and, I want to add more things. But luckily, I'm hoping... Saving that for the end, what I'm hoping is that's going to allow me to have, have more, how do I want to word this? Stuff to work with. Because this is one of the big things about any kind of game design. You can all quote me on this. Is having stuff makes designing future things easier. Shopping for gear. It's not necessarily going to be shopping. Unfortunately, not really a lot. You're not going to be like, I want this. I want this. It is going to be this is a mission kind of stuff. This is you're kind of a vaguely professional thing, depending on which of the. If you want to play the umbrella security company, it's not going to be as official. But if you're just kind of playing your military guys, you're going to have that. Oh, you mean the meta sense. I understand you, Saffron. I understand you. I see we are of one mind. I get you. Yeah, no, I'm pretty confident there. Again, specialization, what probably is going to end up happening there is there's going to be some you can select two specializations being you don't have to pick them right away, but you can go down these kind of trees and that kind of expand out a little bit that you can kind of pick and choose from, and just a lot of little abilities that you have kind of general that you can pick at any time. That's what I'm thinking of. So far, I usually don't do feat trees or feats and abilities and stuff like that. I usually don't do them, so this is kind of a new thing for me. So far, the system works on paper. I'm going to have to throw d12s at my friend and being this take this. I will say it's going to prove its existence, if that makes sense. It's going to prove whether or not it can work well, entirely dependent on Friday. Because that's when we're going to be making a character, and that's when we're going to be able to see how characters are going to function. If characters function correctly, it's going to work great. If they don't, we can do some... I have a knife and we can start doing some cutting. Cut and deliver. Always remember that. Cut and deliver. So thank you all for watching. My name is Notepad, and I'm going to call it here for today because I've been 95% dead all day because I've just been really tired. and I have to work on the Ryutama video tonight. And that's going to be fun, because I published a Wander Home video today, and I still despise Wander Home. And I will die on that hill. But thank you all for watching. Godspeed, good luck. I will see you all on Friday. Actually, no, I will see you all tomorrow for the end of Evangelion 1.5. You cannot save the world. You are not Alex. 1.25 Zero Soul Requiem 3.0. Get ready, boys. We're literally going to do a Notepad Must Die on Yik. We're going to finish the fucking game tomorrow. And I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. Though I am actually debating on if there's another game I want to play. Like if that just is going to be part of my weekly schedule, is after the videos are done, just play video games. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't really know what games people would want me to play. Or I might just play Victoria 2. Sorry, everybody. It's just Victoria 2 time. So, yeah. Thank you all. Godspeed. Good luck. I will see you all on tomorrow.